Hello, very good evening. In previous class we talked about arrays, and in today's lesson we will be talking about strings. Now let's discuss string. What is string? A string is basically a simple collection of characters. In this class we will learn what is string, how we use string, and various different methods of string within PHP, and how we process the string within PHP. My name is Dr. Shan Bharti. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit that bell icon so you can receive the notifications regularly. Let's begin. So typically within a string, basically what we have is we question mark PHP and then question mark close. So within PHP, basically we declare a variable, for example name is equals to, and whatever we write within the inverted quotations is considered as a string. For example, my name. So now this becomes basically a string. Okay. Similarly, I can write the same thing as $, for example surname is equal to, and I can only write this thing, so this again is a string. Similarly, we can declare number is equals to inverted quotations, and we can write this number as well. Now this all basically behaves like a string, meaning anything you write within double quotation marks is considered a string. Typically defining a string, basically it's a collection of character array. Internally, a string is dealt in form of a character array. So in other words, we have created a character array with a very simple mechanism of double quotation marks without going into the fuss of creating an array itself. So all these array characters basically combine together, and this as a whole is known as a string. Okay. Because this is a type of an array, internally it is built like an array. So each character has a particular index number. It's like an indexed character array, where this is on 0 index, this is on 1 index, this is on 2 index, this is on 3 index. So each character actually is on a particular index. So in order to access each character, we use the character index number. Even when you write a numeric number, now this is considered as not an integer but in a string number. So now this is string. So this is what all it is takes. Even to a certain point, you can also declare the string, for example father name is equals to with a single quotation marks. Okay. So I can declare the single quotation marks as well. This is also considered as a string variable. You can use a double quotation marks as well as a single quotation marks for a string. Now, since I said this is basically like a character array, so what we can do is we can also create or echo these statements, and we can just give it, for example $name semicolon. Okay. Now this is a string. Again, echo requires a string. So if you give only $, still it will consider as a string and print it on an output. So if I save this code, again, in order to save it, I go inside my XAMPP folder in htdocs in PHP class, and let me name it as string.php. Okay, making sure I have PHP selected. So string.php in PHP class, I save it, I go into my control panel and start the control panel and starting the Apache server. And once it's started, let's go back into the browser, and here we type localhost, and inside the localhost /php class /string.php, press enter, and we have our string available. Okay. So now what you see is basically whatever echo statement you write string, this becomes printed on a screen. So this is simple what string is all about. The function or the purpose of string actually comes when we start understanding various different methods of string, and there is a huge number of methods that we use to process the string. That's where string becomes more interesting and more useful, when we process the string and we can perform various different operations on the string. So for example, we can also come here and we can say echo chr, one of the methods of string. Okay, just write chr semicolon, and for example 65. Now we all know 65 is an ASCII code. Okay, or basically we all know about ASCII code, and within ASCII code there's a number called 65, and once we go here and use this method called chr, it's a character that will be printed based on this particular index number. So if I save it, come back here, you see A is basically printed. So if you need to print an echo, or in other words, I can go here. Now what basic idea was that we use the method, whatever the value of that method is written will be considered as a string and printed on using echo. So if I just write echo, and instead of giving any method, quotation marks, and let me write BR semicolon control S, come back here, hit a refresh. You see A is printed. So whatever basic ASCII code you give here will be basically used to print your number. So for example 89, I don't know what it is. If I refresh it, it's Y. Okay, so ASCII codes are basically printed in this manner. If you give us something like for example 122, control S and hit a refresh, again small z is printed. So any number can be used printed using a method called echo character. Similarly, there are many other methods that I use which are basically called within system to print the values. For example, the first function is that we have created this string and we want to know the length of this string. So what we do is we create the method echo, and then I use a called string length length function and dot operator. Then we use a function called strlen. Okay, now this is a built-in function. It is already available. We don't need to use it, or we don't need to declare it or create it, and we just pass it the variable name. So for example, $name. Okay, now what this is a string length function. Okay, this was the method that we used. If I write here now inverted quotations, convert the ASCII code into character. Okay, dot operator. So this is what this method does. The second method, again I will need to use BR with this thing. Okay, so this is first method. The second method, for example, if I use again BR here and then I use second method, it's called string length function. String length is a function that will give me the number of characters in this particular string. In this case we have this. If I save it, come back here, so it is 14. Okay, so you can print this string name here, which is already printed here. Okay, this now contains 14 characters. Very nice and simple. Okay, so if you need to find out that whether a password is of a given length or not, or your name is of a given length or not, or your text field basically contains your number, phone number is of a standard length or not, or email address is a standard length or not, basically we use this string length function to evaluate. Okay, obviously this can also be done in the same manner. If I use it here, and you can directly write a string here as well. So let me just pop. Hello string length function. So if I give it a very long string as well, you can directly write this, and then if I come back here, it will tell me it contains 28 characters. So let me just reduce this. So for example, if I only have what's happening, if I just reduce this thing, and if I only write hello, control S and go and refresh it, it says 5. So string length function basically returns the number of characters in this particular string. It counts each character. Okay, the third method that we will basically be using is called echo. Okay, it's called substring methods, and then substring is basically, it has multiple forms. So again BR bracket close. Third method is substring function. Okay, now what does substring do? Dot subs str bracket close by sorry, what's going on? Undo sub str, and this is okay. So, this is okay. Now substr is basically a method of substring. What it basically means, it in other words, it takes a certain portion of a string and creates a new string on it. Okay, for example, if I use a substring like hello, okay, and then comma, and then I give it a number called 4. Okay, now what it does is it will go inside it, it will read 0, 1, 2, 3. In fact, let me just give it only 2, okay, because I start the number. Now if I write, what it does is it starts from the second index. It will go 0, 1, 2. It will start from this 2 index and print only the remaining index numbers. This is basically the starting index number. Okay, it will, this is like a start from the second index and print whatever is left, the initial number. So this is what substring does. It only prints the certain portion of a string. It has multiple variants. So for example, control C. Okay, oops, if I come here, print this substring, and I can give it, for example, comma, the ending number as well. So start from 2 and end till 3 number. That's it. So if I have, for example, hello world, and I can give, for example, 6. Now it basically means that start from 0, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so 2 index start from here, skip the first 2, go up till 6 index. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it will print up till W, because the X is inclusive. Okay, let me talk. It will not print O, it will print W. Let me just verify, come back here, hit a print. So first time double L O and now W O. Okay, so what now happens is that in first time it started from second index and print the remaining characters. The next time we said start from 2 but end till 6 index. So it started from the second index, 3, 4, 5 and 6th index. So whatever the characters are up till 6th index are now getting printed. If you are coming from Java, in Java this is an exclusive number. It will always be one less than the number given. In PHP it is also an inclusive number, meaning that it will go up till that particular point. So this is a substring. So for example, if you need to extract a certain portion of a string, we basically use this particular number. Okay, so here, and similarly, for example, if I come, oh, what's happening here? If I come, okay, this is a different tab, semicolon. Okay, so now if I come back here and if I need to write echo third time, and this time I want to use a variable, I can use a variable as well. So $name. Okay, and I can say print from 3 characters, Control S. When I come back here, okay, we missed out a bracket, Control S. Okay, hit a refresh, now we come back. So now this is my name and we give it 3. So basically 3 means after the third index print everything. So after the third index it printed everything. But if I come back here, Control C and give it space again, and if I say after 3 up till 6, it will go from 3 and the remaining 6 characters. Save, come back here. So we started from 3rd, 4, 5 and up to 6th index. Okay, this is what it does when we say a substring. So very useful method to evaluate a certain portion of a string. So for example, you want to evaluate an email address but you just want anything before email address. This is what we do. We use substring to evaluate a certain portion of a string and we use it for that purpose. Similarly, there's a method called trim. So if another method, if I use it, br, fourth method is called trim, which basically removes white spaces. This is again very useful in online. So if you are asking user to give you your name but they have entered a space in the field, basically this is what it does. It removes the spaces from that particular field. So it uses a method called trim. Now dot operator is basically a connection operator. It has nothing to do with the function. These are built-in methods that are available. Okay, we use this method. So for example, space, inverted quotations, and I give few space and then I write hello. Okay, and then space or maybe a space afterwards, semicolon. Now what happens is that once I execute this method, you would find it has removed all the spaces. Okay, okay. So if you come back to the code, you would find that a trim basically is a method that removes the spaces. So sometimes we read a text from a text field and we do apply trim on it. So in case they have applied some spaces before or after the content. This is again true for the email address or for example the name, surname or telephone numbers. It's always a good way to ensure that your method is basically contains no space. So trim is a very good method that we use to eradicate all the spaces from our string. Okay. Similarly, there is a method called token, as string tokenization. This is again a cool method that we tend to use a lot through online materials. So if I use br, and the fifth method is string tokens, okay, or what we call tokenize the string. Okay, so string tokens or tokenize the string. Okay, what we do is we use a dot operator, and then with that dot operator basically we have a method called, I think, let me just cut the string or just leave it here, strtok, okay, string tok, sorry, t small, string tok, bracket start, bracket close. Now if I just bring it back so you can read the string method. So string talk is basically a method that will tokenize a given string. So for example, if I have my string name, and let me in fact use the string tokenization just like this. So a string token space and comma, and then we need to specify how should it create the tokens. So in this case, for example, we can specify the quotation space marks. Okay, so now basically what it means that in fact, let me just reduce this skin. So I T O K E and it's tokens or tokenize. Okay, so let me just remove this so that actually I want it to be on one line. Here we go. So str talk or basically string tokenization method does is that it takes a string, then it breaks the string into parts or subparts, or which we technically refer to as tokens. For example, if you have a long sentence and you want the sentence to be broken down into words, basically this is what method we do. So in this case, we control S, come back here, hit a refresh, you would find tokenization. Okay, so it just breaks the string into one part. Similarly, for example, we can create another string, dollar variable, dollar variable and equals to hello world string token and hit a semicolon. So we create another variable here. Instead of name, I can give var. So now what it will do, it will break the word based on the space character, or for that matter any other character that you want it to break for. So if I save it and let's just hit a br, I think we did a br and semicolon, and now if I hit a refresh, so you will find hello word is there. So it will break and use the first word token that is available. Obviously, we have just directly printed it. If you want for the more tokens to be created, what we do is we create a variable called token is equal to, and we use str okay bracket start bracket close, and we can use dollar vvar comma and inverted quotations with a space. Now basically it will mean it will hopefully try to break all the strings. Okay, so we saved it into a variable, and then instead of printing here, I can come here and for example come here string token, and I can use this variable as well. So dollar token token, and it will give me a token variable. At the same time, I can also do here is token for example the size. Okay, the string token count. Okay, so we can use the count method that we had in arrays. We fit this. So for example dot count bracket start, and we can come here and bracket close. So what this will do now is if I had a refresh, count is 1, we get this variable. Okay, so you can even print that thing in this particular order. Okay, so variable string token is basically what we have available, and it will get me the count. Or if you don't want to count it, you can remove and you can print the variable of token directly here as well. So this is another method that we use for string token. Similarly, there are various different other functions that you can use for PHP. We will be talking about that as we go along. Okay, so a string is basically very cool feature. So string is basically data type in PHP that allows us to store character arrays, long strings, statements, and we process a string multiple times. We will be using various different functions in future classes. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any problem, don't forget to leave the comments down below, and I will hopefully try to answer them as soon as I can. This is Dr. Ishan Bhatti signing off.